G'day, Terry McFlynn is joining us now, Auckland FC Director of Football. Terry, welcome to Nice Drop of Port.
Thank you very much, Dale. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's great to have you on. Now, one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on is that right that you were the first football-related employee of the club, or thereabouts?
Oh yeah, football related. Yeah, so obviously Nick Becker, the CEO, was obviously the first, and Mike Higgins was the commercial officer. So they were the first two in, and then from the football department, it was myself. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you've been there almost a bit more than a year, I think, and.
Yeah.
Like, if I'd said to you 12 months ago that, roll on a year, you'd be top of the league after 7 games, playing in front of crowds of 26,000, 2 derby victories under your belt, smashing ALeague records all over the place, what would you have said to me, Terry?
I would have been very, very hopeful. But no, look, I think the start that we've had has been fantastic. It's all credit to on the pitch to Steve and the boys and all the assistant coaches and performance team. Off the pitch has been amazing. What Nick and his team have done, filling up the stadiums and just the match day experience that's in and around the club at the minute. Everyone's talking about it. You're walking down the street and there's kids everywhere with Auckland FC shirts on, and everyone wants to be at the game, and the guys in the port are amazing as well. So it's a really good feeling. But at the minute, we know it's just a start, and we have to just keep building it.
That's right. It's a great start that it's been, and for us, the fans, it's been great to be part of such a thing. But for you sort of had a key job early on, which was basically to go out and find us a manager first of all, and some players. I mean, what was the tactic? First of all, talk about Steve. Was he always your number one target?
No, look, we had to do full due diligence and full research and a full scope of the world, really. The owner, Bill Foley, was very, very clear that we weren't coming into the competition just to take part. We were coming in to challenge and be successful. He wanted a head coach that knew the ALeague, that had worked in the ALeague, understood the salary cap, because that's a big one for a lot of coaches coming into the ALeague from outside that don't understand the salary cap and the intricacies of it. So at that time, Steve was obviously just finished his time at Sydney FC. There was another coach who had just finished up, who had won the ALeague as well. So both of them was interviewed. We interviewed another 7 coaches, so I think 9 in total. Nick and myself, we ran through the full process. I'd worked with Steve previously at Sydney FC. We played together for a number of years and worked together over 15 years together. So I think once the interview process was complete, everyone that was involved agreed that Steve would be the right coach to lead the team in its inaugural year, which made things a lot smoother. Obviously, as we'd worked together, we know exactly how each other works. The style of football, the type of players is very similar. So we set about, first of all, developing a playing style. And then we brought Doug Coors in as head of recruitment. Again, with a playing style, we've got to find the players that fit the style. We developed a competency matrix in terms of what we were looking for each player in each position. We've always built squads with 2 players per position, and we continue that theme with this group. And it's been a really enjoyable process. We brought in the assistant coach, Danny Hay. We brought in the goalkeeper coach, Jonathan Gould. Carl Edwards came in shortly after that as analyst. So between the 5 or 6 of us, we had a lot of robust discussions around the type of players we were bringing in.
What type of players were you looking for? What was the parameters?
The remit deal to start with was we wanted to build a team and a club for the community, from the community. So there was a real heavy emphasis on getting as many New Zealand players as possible. So we basically got on the phones, called every single New Zealand footballer that we could get a hold of. Steve and myself actually flew up to Egypt when the All Whites was playing Egypt and Tunisia up there. We sat with all the guys. Darren Baisley was fantastic with us. We stayed in the same hotel as the team. We caught up with all the players for coffee and explained the project to them. This is what we wanted to do. This is how we were doing it. Some of the boys, as you've seen, obviously Nando Pinecker, Tommy Smith, Max Mada, they all decided, they wanted to come and be part of it this year. Other players were saying, well, I'm still under contract, maybe next year, maybe the year after. It's definitely something that they want to be part of, playing in their home city in front of their friends, family. We ended up with 18 Kiwi boys, which is a fantastic number. And I think that's shown that in the performances recently that the boys are playing for the city. And then again, we looked at what Australians was available, because obviously the Australian players are classed as domestic players for us here in New Zealand, whereas the New Zealand players classed as a visa player in Australia for the A-League team. So that was one advantage we had. And again, Jake Brimmer, former Johnny Warren medalist, Dan Hall, back-to-back championship winner, and Scotty Galloway's won 2 or 3 championships as well. So we knew the boys we wanted to bring in needed to have the right mentality. They needed to be winners, people who are still ambitious to move on. To Dan at 24, Jake at 24, Scotty's a little bit older, but still have that ambitions to go to the next level. So once we got those guys done, then I was moving to the foreigners. And the foreign players are very, very important to your group in terms of the professionalism that they bring from the level where they've played at. And they have to be coming for the right reasons. So we took our time with the visa players. A lot of the questions obviously comes up about, well, what's your history? Who are you? You've actually never had a competitive game. So a lot of the players, in particular the foreign players, took a leap of faith in us by joining a football club that basically didn't exist.
Huge leap of faith for the foreign players. In terms of just going back to your chats up there in Egypt with the All Whites, we got a few in. Are you able to tell us what Chris Wood said to you when you asked him to come down and play for us?
Chris wasn't actually there on that trip. So he was one that we actually didn't face-to-face talk with. But
he's for next year, is he? Yeah.
Oh, he's doing an amazing job in the Premier League. And, I think if as long as he's continued to score goals in the Premier League, I think it'd be better for him to stay there. But certainly at some point we'd love to have Chris at the football club, and I think it'd be an amazing story for New Zealand football and for all of Auckland.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. Talking about marquee signings, Auckland FC haven't really got a marquee signing. I mean, we've got Sakai, real international footballer, a couple of other international footballers. But, I mean, you touched on it before. Was that kind of purposeful? Because a lot of the A-League teams, they do go for a marquee signing. But we seem to have done the opposite. We've gone for local blend of Australians, solid pros. Was that the idea?
Look, first and foremost, we wanted to get the right people in the building. We knew to build a culture from ground zero, you need good people, and that was a key focus. So we recruit on 2 things: character and competence. So as I said before, we built out the competency matrix as to what we were looking for from a hard skill set in terms of right back, centre back, left back, number 6, whatever that key position is the competency levels. You can actually quantify that. Obviously the physical side of it as well, but one of the main things for us was to get the right characters in the building, and we do a lot of work behind the scenes on character references. We do a lot of work on the type of person that we're bringing in, and I think there's two ways to look at a marquee signing. You can have a commercial marquee, like a big name, where you can commercially generate revenue. And you can have a performance marquee. So for us, we decided that year one, the way we were building the club and the culture, that we wanted to have a team that was all together, a team that was united. And I think you can see that on the pitch, the culture that the boys have built, working for each other. Hiroki's a massive name in world football. Again, we were very, very fortunate that he loves New Zealand. He wanted to come here and live with his family. So that was a very, very easy conversation with him and his agent. And if anything, that gave us credibility when we were speaking to other foreign players and other visa players. That we had Hiroki Sakai was one of our visa players. That was a big draw card for us as well. It gave us credibility in an unknown market straight away.
Yeah, and we talked about it on the podcast a little bit earlier on, a few games ago, that the style was solid, as if you'd planned to build from the back with the number one, obviously Paulson, incredible signing, and then the defenders all very experienced, very solid. And we looked at some of the stats from some of the games that we actually won, and we actually had less possession, very comfortable without the ball. Is that always the style you were looking for, those players who would be uncomfortable with the ball, very, very solid? And obviously in latter games we've seen some of our attacking players now come into the fore. But was that sort of plan to build from the back, get the foundations right, and then go from there?
Yeah, look, I don't think it was a conscious effort. Obviously, that's something that we're very, very big on and very, very strong on. The defensive side of the game, we need to show a lot of respect to, because of this. You start every game with 1 point. So before you've even kicked the ball, you've got 27 points out of 27 games. So all you can do is lose 2 in a game. Add 2 or lose 1. So for us, as long as we were defensively sound, we knew that in the front third we had enough quality that's going to create chances. And then again, from a set piece point of view, we're very, very dangerous in terms of the size that we've got. So for us, the coaches work a lot of time on defence. But to play the style of play that we want to play and we are playing, the players needed to be fit. So we brought in Elias Bukaram, who's the head of performance. The great thing for where we sit within the group is that we had access to all Bournemouth's data in terms of the physical data. So pre-season, they went to the US, they went to LA. I think they played Arsenal, Wrexham, and LA Galaxy. We were here at North Harbour Stadium, and a lot of the tests that they were doing in the US, our boys was doing here. So straight away, we could see, right, physically, what does our players look like sitting alongside a Premier League player? So to have that data and then have a program in place to try and close that gap. I think you've seen in the games, and you just touched on it there, that we score late on. Like we can run teams down, and we can
stay in the game, and that's half the task.
100%, and we can keep going 97, 98 minutes. So yeah, that's been a conscious effort in terms of the playing style and the physical output that the players need to be producing day in, day out to bring that style to life.
Yeah, and we've seen that play out. Like last week, of course, coming from behind twice, which we talked about on the podcast here. We hadn't done that yet, and that would be a test of resilience. How did the coaching staff feel about the result last week? Because for me, it was almost kind of was the best one because we'd been tested.
It was a big test, and Melbourne City, they're a great football club. They've won multiple championships, so they need to be respected, and they were. Going into the game, we did all our homework, we did all our due diligence. The boys had a real clear game plan. First half, we didn't execute the game plan, and that was clear. So the coaches addressed that at half time, changed the system a little bit, went with 2 9s, dropped Jake Brimmer back as a double 6. I thought Jake was fantastic in the second half, a real calming influence in the group. Young Finn made his debut, which was great to see, and that's what we want to do and we'll continue to do is give kids opportunities. He'll learn from the game. He's a good boy and he's learning day in, day out. But yeah, to come from behind twice in the game was pleasing. To go ahead, I think there was more in it than coming from behind twice. We came from behind, we were 1-0 down, came back, then we went in front. We thought we'd took the lead. Goals ruled out for offside. So that knocks the wind out of you, and the boys could have crumbled then. Then we score an own goal, so we go behind again. And again, that could have been an upset for some of the boys, but the resilience they showed just to keep going. And then to get the equaliser at the end, I think we definitely deserved a point from the game. Disappointing. We could have won it. But the most pleasing thing for me, Dale, coming off the pitch was that the belief in the group, coming off the pitch, a lot of the boys were disappointed to get a draw away at Melbourne City, which, again, is a big result. They're a big team. They're a big club. They're good players. So that, for me, cements the feeling within our group that, we belong at this level.
You belong, and we're top of the league. We do belong. There's been some great moments so far. I've been to all the home games, and watch the other ones away on the TV. Some of the connection between the players and the coaching staff and the crowd at Mount Smart, like could you guys have hoped for that? I mean, I was there the first game against Brisbane, 25 odd thousand in there. Like what did that feel like to be in the camp? And I mean, because you could have started this football club and only a few thousand turned up. I mean, what did it feel like did you finally realize that, yeah, actually we're onto something here?
Yeah, look, I think that side of it, what Nick Becker, the CEO, and the team off the field have done is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I don't think that can be understated at this point. And I remember driving into Mount Smart and I'd sent Nick a text and just said, mate, at some point today, step back and understand what you've done. And it's funny, actually, we after the derby, we were sitting and we went for dinner after the game, and we're having dinner, and the guy walked in with a Guillermo Mai number 10 Auckland FC shirt on, and we just sort of sat back and said, well, 10 months ago this didn't exist, and now you've got a Kiwi man in his mid-30s walking into a restaurant with an Auckland FC shirt on with a Uruguayan player's name on his back. It was like, this is special.
Yeah, well, football's come to Auckland or come to New Zealand for the first time, I really feel. I mean, obviously the All Whites have had sort of big results down the years, and the Phoenix, have been great. But this feels different. This feels that we're there not to make the numbers up. I mean, you'd be aware of the previous renditions of the A-League teams coming out of Auckland. They didn't fare well. What do you feel is the difference this time?
Oh, look, I can't speak to what was, because I wasn't here. Obviously, I remember the New Zealand Knights. I played against them. I was at Sydney FC. And actually, here on this pitch here at North Harbour Stadium where we train is where they played. So obviously know them, and obviously Danny Hay was the first captain of that team. So we know the history around it. Look, I think the thing for me, Dale, is that when we were doing it, again, going back to what I said before about having good people in the building, having good people in the organisation. Nick, again, has done an amazing job building out his team. And as much as, we're giving young Kiwi boys an opportunity to play professional football, he's giving young Kiwi boys, girls, men and women opportunities to work in professional sport. And again, everybody's here for the right reasons. Everyone wants to build this thing to be the best that it possibly can be. And again, I want to say thank you to all the admin team and the staff off the pitch for the work that they do continuously too. Like, you speak to the players, they love running out at Mount Smart in front of 15, 20, 25,000 people. And that's testament to the hard work of the people off the pitch. And I had some friends came over for the derby, and we were sitting watching the game. The two ex-players, they played in England, they live in Melbourne now. And one of them just started shaking his head halfway through the game, and he just started laughing. I said, what are you laughing at? And he said, mate, how is this possible? He said, you got 26,000 people in here. You got a supporter group behind the goal that 10 months ago didn't know each other. Now they're standing there singing songs that they've made up in unison, united behind the team. And then you got a kids' playground at one end of the stadium. So it's like there's something for everyone. There is something for everyone, and it's a great day out. The match day experience is unreal. What the coaches are doing with the team is bringing a lot of joy to people's life. And again, the atmosphere that the port create is, it's just a perfect mix.
You mentioned the slide at the end of the ground. I understand there's going to be an artificial beach coming in now. Do you know much about this, Terry?
I do. There's a beach being constructed at the minute. I think it's 60 meters long by 6.5 or 7 meters wide. There's going to be beach soccer. There's going to be cocktail bar. There's going to be live music. So again, it's, Kiwis love the beach. We've got a game of football on in the middle of summer, so we thought, well, hang on, why don't we bring the beach to the football? And when I say we, I can't take any credit whatsoever for the beach. It's completely Nick and his team off the pitch, which is amazing. But going back to talk about the slide, so we had Brisbane Roar match day 1, and we went for dinner the night before. The owner Bill was in town, and so we went for caught up with him for dinner, and we had a couple of commitments at Mount Go Media Stadium in the morning of the match day. So I drove across there, got there about 8 o'clock in the morning, and I could see someone going down the slide. And I thought, who the hell's this? So I walked across, and it was Nick, the CEO. And
wanted to be first down the slide, did he?
Well, I said, what are you doing? He said, well, if we're going to ask 500 or 600 kids to go down this slide, we've got to make sure it's safe. So I think that's the type of man he is, and it's just how invested everyone is in making sure that this thing's real.
It's a beautiful story. And what's it like working for a billionaire, essentially, in Bill? Does Bill, apart from going to the dinner, does he pop in now and again?
He hasn't been back since the first game,
right.
But we have a meeting with him every week online.
Sure.
And a few of the board members as well. So just in around the football department, where we're at with things, how we're tracking on and off the park, injury updates, travel, logistics, salary cap. Just basically, so he's fully invested. He's fully across everything. And the best thing is that he's accessible. So if we need something, or even just to check in, have a chat with him, and a bit of advice or sounding board, it's refreshing to be able to have those conversations with people who've got, again, multiple sporting organisations right across the world, and to know that the owner genuinely cares for what's happening here it's a joy, and all the boys know that. They feel it as well. So when Bill was here, he came in the change room, met with everyone, spoke with everyone. So yeah, it's a very, very positive environment.
Yeah, I can imagine. And talking about the connection, with the players and the fans particularly, I've watched them after all these victories that we've had come over, mainly to the Port End, and the singing carries on. And there looks like there's genuine joy in these players' eyes that potentially they haven't experienced this in their careers before, because like we know that these players have come from the four corners of the earth, played at varying levels of football. Now they're in front of 25,000 people who are just like cheering their name. I mean, how has that affected the players? What's the feedback?
Oh, the players love it, and again, we made a clear message to the players when everyone came in that we were playing for all of Auckland. And that's the reason for the name Auckland FC. There's no other connotation that needed to go with it. We're just Auckland Football Club. So we're a football club for all of Auckland, for everyone. And I think that shows as well in the demographic of players that we've got in, Dan's Fijian, Hiroki's Japanese. So the multiculturalism across Auckland is represented throughout our group. And like you said, the very first game we had at Auckland United, and the Port guys turned up behind the goals, and the players went to thank them. We've had a couple of functions down at Tyler Street Sports Bar, and it's just grown and grown and grown. And the players, they've responded. They love it. Like I said, they love running out in front of 15 to 25,000 people every week, and the noise that the Port bring. It's an atmosphere that I've got a lot of friends now since I moved to Auckland that are rugby fans, and rightly so. They've come to a couple of games, and they said it's a completely different atmosphere. And we spoke about it the other day. Like, we want sport in this country to succeed, and in this city. So, like, we train here alongside Moana Pacifica. We share a stadium with the Warriors. The Blues are down the road. So it's like, for us, there's something for everyone. And if we can play a little part in our journey of creating something for the people of Auckland, then that's what we'll continue to do.
I think you're right. This club is for everyone, and the Port is fantastic. But I've spent time at different parts of the ground. I'm in the Port sometimes. The other week, I actually had another friend come, and he was sitting up on the grass bank, not down where the slide is, but between the Port and the other stand.
Yes.
And he'd never been to football before. He heard me talking about it. Work comes to the football. He's having a nice drink. He's not a football person. He goes, it'd be lovely to bring a nice little cheese platter to the game next time. You know what I mean? I love the fact that this is for all Aucklanders, and it's a really beautiful thing. And I think the success of the team is helping, of course. Now, I have a question from one of my colleagues on the podcast, Robbie, and he actually asked, all teams have goals and ambitions at the beginning of the season. Because of the start to the season we've had, have those goals and ambitions altered?
No. Look, we set our goals internally. We haven't communicated them outside of the four walls of the football club. Everyone knows what we're working towards. Everyone knows what it takes to achieve those goals individually and collectively. We actually ask the players for their own individual goals as a person, and then collectively for the group. Everything aligned. We've written them down. We've put them in a drawer, and we're working towards them every day. So for us, like I said at the very start, the one thing we never shied away from, or we never didn't communicate, was we want to be competitive, and we're not here to make up numbers. So what that looks like at the end of the season, time will tell. But certainly we're not coming in just to make up numbers and be part of a competition that has been around for 20 years. There's someone has to win the competition every year. It's just the way.
You'll probably give me a diplomatic answer, but surely playoffs are the minimum goal now, right?
Look, again, without giving away too much, if you think the number of teams in the competition and the playoffs, you got to make the top 6, so you're actually finishing mid-table. Now, I don't know if you class that as success or not, by finishing mid-table. If you asked another club,
I said minimum goal. That's your minimum goal.
Yeah, look, I think I'm maybe getting a little bit away there, but I think any clubs around the world, if you ask them what the goals are and they say to finish mid-table, it would be completely underwhelming for the supporters and underwhelming for the corporates and underwhelming for everyone involved in the club. So I think you've got to set your goals a little bit higher than that. Look, certainly as an unknown club, as a club that didn't exist 12 months ago, with no players, with no coaches, with no staff, we didn't even have a football. So to be where we are now and to be talking the way we are, it's not anything more than ambitious.
All right. Well, let's say the words grand final. You, Terry, as I know, you were two grand finals captained one of them. Is that right? So, I mean, what sort of words of wisdom would you have, around what it takes to get to a grand final and then go on and win a grand final?
Oh, look, I think it's way too early in our history to be talking about grand finals at this stage. Certainly, again, we have never shied away from this. We want to be the first New Zealand team to win the A-League.
Yeah.
The timeline on that we haven't said, but certainly you look across the group, and there's enough players in there that's played in big games. Grand finals obviously a big game, so at the minute the players are taking each game on its own merits. We analyse the opposition. Carl Edwards, who's our lead analyst, does a fantastic job, sits with the coaches and works out a game plan. So again, we take each game on its merits, give the opponents the respect they deserve, and then go from there. And we just keep building.
And looking back into history, I see you were known as Saint Terry over there in Sydney. What was all that about, Terry?
I think it's more just obviously because I'm from Ireland, and I think a couple of lads ran with it. Obviously, St Patrick's the patron saint of Ireland, so and I always wore the number 15. So the stained glass window had 15 panels. So there were good times at the football club there. Again, had a lot of success there, and very, very similar to the guys at the Port. Very, very passionate supporters that just want their team to do well.
Great. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up, Terry. Last question really is, another game at the weekend, another home game. We've got a few injuries, but what's the kind of outlook for that game?
Yeah, look, the travel across to Melbourne and back was pretty smooth. We go back in on Monday, boys had Tuesday off, train Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with a lead into the game on Saturday. We'll do a captain's run tomorrow at Mount Smart. Preparation's gone really well. Boys are, like you say, apart from the ones that we spoke about, Dan Hall and Cam Housen, the rest of the boys are all fit and healthy, ready to go. So yeah, look, we're really looking forward to it. We played Western United in pre-season, and that was a good game. Both teams tried to play football the right way. So yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Obviously, as you said, the beach will be in play this weekend as well. So hopefully we get a few more supporters come down just to have a look at the beach and hang around and be on this game and stay and buy memberships and merchandise and be part of the club and be part of what we're trying to achieve. So But no, we're really looking forward to the game, and it's something that, like I said, the boys love doing. They love playing in front of their fans, their friends and family, in front of the port, in front of everyone from Auckland. So we just can't wait to get back out there on Saturday.
I love it. And, feedback from the fans and us on this podcast, it's been wonderful for us to be able to build our life around a football season again for a lot of the football people in this city. So, to all the players and the staff and the club, we've been overwhelmed by what a great experience it's been for so many different people. So thank you guys to that. And thank you for coming on the show tonight, Terry.
No problem at all.
Good luck for the rest of the season, of course, if we don't speak to you before. But thank you very much.
Thanks, Dale. Thank you.
Cheers.